So after 9 action-packed days, the fencing has finally concluded at the Grand Palais. It's been a lot of fun and I do have a lot of thoughts about it all. So let's start with the good stuff. The standard of fencing is possibly the highest it's ever been, in my opinion, which makes for some really exciting fencing and some jaw-dropping feats of skill. These Olympics have really shown that fencing is becoming less and less of a Eurocentric sport, which is going to be really important for the long-term health of fencing. There have been plenty of viral moments too. One of the things that got non-fencers talking was Sébastien Patrice and his huge bouncy attacks. I think it's a good example of how it's good to have such a wide variety of fencing styles to keep the game entertaining. Another story that reached far outside of the fencing world was Nada Hafez of Egypt announcing that she was 7 months pregnant after upsetting Tartakovsky of the USA. It's just nice to see fencing get some level of mainstream recognition, even if it is just for a couple of weeks. The venue was amazing. The Grand Palais felt like a really appropriate place for fencing and the crowds were really great. I was there for the finals and bronze medal matches of the men's team Sabre, and the atmosphere as France won the bronze medal was just insane. Towards the end of the match I was kind of worried that it might overshadow the final, but even just the Hungarian and Korean fans were loud enough to make it feel really, really special. So that's some of the good stuff, but I'm afraid now I'm going to have to return to my usual state of cynicism. It's been hard to watch these Olympics knowing that sitting at home is one of the best fencers in the world. Despina Georgiadou was world number 3 at the Olympics and she couldn't compete due to the nonsensical qualification rules that meant Greece couldn't have 2 fencers in the women's individual sabre event. Even though France, Italy, Korea, Japan, Ukraine, USA, Algeria and Hungary were all allowed to have 3 fencers. The rules just don't really make sense. Imagine if Nadal wasn't allowed to compete in the tennis because Alcaraz was already qualified. It would be crazy. It's also sad that certain fencers are taking places that, in my opinion, they don't really deserve. I've been banging on about this a lot, but the state of refereeing at the minute is absolutely dire, especially in Sabre. It's not just the calls that are clearly wrong, it's the number of bouts that are decided by stupidly close decisions that makes refereeing feel so arbitrary and even random. Fares Ferjani is clearly a great fencer and I really enjoyed watching him win the silver medal, but I don't think it's fair that he beat Gemeshi based on a total coin flip of a decision. What did Gemeshi do wrong here to lose a point at 14-14? It just feels really unfair to me. This is the touch that knocked Bazadze out. Don't get me wrong, Bazadze's behaviour here was totally unacceptable and just shows how spineless the FIE are when the big stars of a sport act out. But I do feel for him getting knocked out on such a tight decision. I did a poll for this one too, and in my opinion, if the most popular answer doesn't even get 50% of the votes, that's a pretty good sign that an action should be called as simultaneous. But for some reason, referees think that they should split pretty much every action that they can. I've said it before, but in my opinion, this kind of refereeing is making Sabre less interesting, with more matches decided by coin flips in the middle of a piece rather than actual fun end-to-end actions. Having said that, for women's Sabre is generally a lot better than the men's. There is also the issue of substitutes in team events. For some reason at the Olympics, if you don't use your sub, then they don't get a medal. And also once a substitution is made, you can't make another substitution for the rest of the day, which is really, really stupid. There was an incident in the men's team foil match between France and China, where in the last relay, Mo Ziwei was hit in the head by Lefeur's guard. Now it's hard to tell for sure, but it kind of looks like the medical delegate decides that Mo is unfit to continue fencing and should be subbed off. But since China had already made their substitution, the referee declares France the winner, ending the bout. Then Wang Haibin turns up. Wang is president of the Chinese Federation and a member of the FIE Executive Committee. After discussions with the referees, they decide to continue the match. Now, I think the rules are completely stupid and that under these circumstances, China should clearly have been allowed to make a substitution, but the rules are clear that you can't do that. And it's also pretty bad that Mo is left to fence potentially with a concussion, which isn't really the done thing in actual serious sports. And finally, as both a member of the COMEX and a representative of the Chinese Federation, I don't believe Wang should be involved in the making of these decisions. To me, that's a very clear conflict of interest. Another thing that I hate about the IOC is how strict they are about enforcing their copyright. It's really inconsistent what you can get away with. I've posted a few Instagram reels containing Olympic footage that have had millions of views, but then a 6-second clip can get my account suspended. Now, maybe I was a bit silly trying to get away with this when they are completely in their rights to protect their IP, but I really don't think it is in the IOC's interest to suppress the coverage of their events to this extent. Viral moments occur organically when normal people can share fun and interesting clips, images, whatever, and I'm not sure that suppressing people's ability to do this is good for the Olympics in the long term. To me, it's clear that the FIE is rotten to the core, and it kind of sickens me to see the likes of Milenchev and Valiev refereeing when they have a history of breaking FIE rules without consequence. I've done full videos on both of these already, but here's just another example of why Milenchev should not be anywhere near the Olympics. This is from the women's team Sabre event at the 2023 Tashkent World Cup. Milenchev is supposed to be refereeing the bout between France and Poland. Instead, he got Valiev to referee the match and spent the whole time coaching the Bulgarian team in their match against Korea. Clearly against the rules and clearly shows that Milenchev is not fit to referee. But here he is again, number one referee at the Olympics, and I'm sure he'll once again get his $10,000 prize from the FIE for being the best referee in the world. In my opinion, the FIE is becoming more and more unfit to manage the sport. Even at the Olympics, they can't get their shit together and actually apply their own rules. I'm a massive fan of Olga Karlan, and I'm glad she won bronze in the women's sabre event. But Luigi Martellotti of Italy should not have been allowed to referee this bronze medal match. Olga Karlan lives in Italy with her Italian partner Luigi Samele and is coached by an Italian. According to the FIE's own rules, this is a Category A conflict of interest and should not happen. Either the FIE is grossly incompetent or they are deliberately breaking their own rules. Either way, it's really concerning. In fact, this is one of the big issues right now with the FIE. Nobody trusts it. It's fairly normal to blame the referee a bit when you lose. I'm sure we've all done it to some extent, but more and more we are seeing accusations of referee collusion and calls for investigations into refereeing decisions. Now, I'm not yet convinced that any of the matches at these Olympics were obviously fixed by referees, at least not to the extent that I believe that they have been at other events. But the fact is, when fencers know that referees have been offered bribes, and when refereeing is so wildly inconsistent, and when rules are repeatedly broken without consequence, then you can't really blame anyone who has lost on a few tight calls for thinking that they've just been robbed. In sport, even just the appearance of integrity is really important, and the FIE is losing its credibility as an organisation. If nothing is done to restore faith in the integrity of the sport, then I really worry that things could start falling apart. So yeah, anyway, sorry for being a bit negative overall. Things aren't all that bad. I just think there are some huge issues that have to be confronted right now. If you want to support the channel, please take a look at my Patreon. There's a growing catalogue of exclusive videos and a few Olympics videos there too. I'll probably do more, so make sure you sign up to the Slicer Sabre Patreon. Cheers, thanks for watching, bye.